We do give praise, esteem, and honor to the Most High Yahuwah Ba'Shem Yahushua this day. John chapter 5, verse 39. John 5 and 39. Gonna try to keep this brief. Go ahead and mash out on this Amos 8. The dude that I was talking to is a part of what we'll like to call Purple Rain, which is IUIC. So that's where he got his teaching from. Let's test it according to the word. Before we even read Amos 8:14, after this John 5:39, Acts 19 and about 9. Search the scriptures, for in them you think you have eternal life, and they are they which testify of me. And you will not come to me, that you might have life. I receive not honor from men, but I know you, that you have not the law of Elohim in you. Before we even read that, Acts 19, let's look at Deuteronomy 19 and 15. Because we got to sit back and look at what this young man did not do. Well, Deuteronomy 17 and 6, because my book opens straight up to 17 and 6. So 17 and 6 got what I'm looking for, so that's what we're going to use. And then we'll look at Acts chapter 19. Yeah, that's Will in the car. At the mouth of 2 witnesses or 3 witnesses shall he that is worthy of death be put to death, but at the mouth of 1 witness shall he not be put to death. Now, you know it's kind of funny, because when we look in Isaiah 28, it says precept must be upon precept and line upon line. So you know that's what it's telling us? 2 witnesses. Now this man offered Amos 8 and 14 as his only witness to state that the tribe of Dan is cut off. Let's look at Acts 19 and let's see what that says. Acts 17, my apologies. It's 17, not 19. It's 17. 17 and 10. Acts 17 and 10. So are we looking at this here for a reason? Because if you profess to be a Yahudim, which I got something in my mind as it pertains to that particular word and some of the things that apply to it, and Yahuwah willing, will deal with it at the time appointed. But what we're looking at is this. This man made a statement that's saying Dan is cut off, and he just told me I'm just supposed to take Amos 8 and 14 and roll with it. But let's see what these men did, though. And the brethren immediately sent away Shaul and Silas by night under Berea, who coming thither went unto the synagogue of the Yahudim. These were more noble than those in Thessalonica, and that they searched the word with all readiness of mind, and searched the scriptures daily, whether those things were so. So the book say we need 2 witnesses to establish a matter, and we should search the scriptures with all readiness of mind to see if this is what is actually saying. So that's what we're going to do today with what this man offered us. But we'll start at Amos 8 and 10 just on general principle. It's only right. It's only right that we test this man. Matter of fact, I ain't even going to do that. We're going to test this man's doctrine. We got to test this man's doctrine to see if it's right. You know, some people say that Amos 8 and 11, actually, some people feel like, oh man, you know, you can come at me on anything. I'm talking about let's test it. Let's just go through the book, see what it is. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times people don't want to go through the book to test it because they know that they're going to come out looking dumb on the backside. Behold, the days coming, saith Yahuwah Elohim, that I will send a famine in the land, not a famine of bread, nor a thirst for water, but of the hearing of the words of Yahuwah. And they shall wander from sea to sea, and from the north even to the east, and they shall run to and fro to seek the word of Yahuwah, and shall not find it. Now hold on, since I sat back and looked at it. That man said he's going to call a famine in the land for the word of Yahuwah. Before we go any further, John 1 and 1. John 1 and 1. So what he really telling us is that there's going to be an extreme lacking in the land, because he said for bread and for water. So when we sit back and look at this here, this man said it will be a famine or a scarcity of the teachings or the preaching or the manifestation of the testimony of Yahushua HaMashiach to the point that you're going to be running to and fro throughout the whole earth looking for it and not going to be able to find it. John 1 and 1, because we're going to have to establish, he say for the word of Yahuwah or the bar of Yahuwah. But that's going to be the master, I would say. I don't know. Let's see what the book say. In the beginning was the word, and the word was with Elohim, and the word was Elohim, and the same was in the beginning with Elohim. But hold on. drop down to about verse 12. Well, let me read verse 4 before I do that. Verse 3 before I do that. Let me not be too fast. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. So, for the case in point, what we're discussing right here is anybody that wants to become a son of Elohim, you cannot become a son of Elohim without him. Because remember, he said the earth was without form and void. I mean, you had no shape, no form. Even how it says in Isaiah 53, no comeliness, no beauty. We had no beauty in us whatsoever because we were transgressors and sinners. We were dead men walking. You had no comeliness, men had to be formed in you. You know what I'm saying? Now this man say there'll be a famine in the land. We know what the bread is. That's his flesh. That's John chapter 6. You know what the water is. That's his blood. That's John chapter 6. That's Matthew 26. The bread and the wine. Partaking in his death. Like what Paul told you in 1 Corinthians 11. Don't even partake of it if you're not worthy, because you bring damnation on yourself. Because when you're doing this, you're showing this man death till he come. This is what you're doing. When you sip that wine and you eat that unleavened bread, you're showing this man death till he come. That means you sitting up and you saying that you are willingly offering yourself on a tree of torture. That you are willingly offering yourself to Yahuwah like he did. That's what this man said. These people going to be running through the earth looking for bread, and like it's a famine of bread and water, but they looking for the word. These people looking to die so they can be resurrected again, can't find it. Because sit back and think about it. The hearing of the words of Yahuwah in the earth is not difficult. It's people preaching the word of Yahuwah everywhere. Everywhere. I'm talking about whether they Brews or whether they Christians. The word being preached all over the place. All over the place. I had a lady get in my car last night. I was playing this particular song, and they said, "Oh, you a Hebrew Israelite, huh?" I said, "Yeah, but we ain't on the type of time they on." Man, little baby like this here, like, yeah, them niggas gonna go too overboard. They ain't even live like. You can sit back and tell what they talking about. I'm straight. I'm straight. She didn't mention this till she was finna get out the car, towards the tail end of the record, because she wasn't into that long. You know what I'm saying? Baby like, I ain't on that. Another dude got in my car and said, "Oh, you a Hebrew Israelite?" Because of the music that was playing. I said, "Yeah." He said, "Yeah, man, I can say I'm a little bit more comedic, Sarnetta TV, but guys dropping knowledge all over the place." So you know him because of the advent of the internet. That all type of information is out there. But one thing they ain't finding is the testimony of Yahusha. Hello?
What's going on? I got disconnected.
Yes, sir. Well, I thought that was you calling back. Who called in before that then? That's why I ain't say nothing on that one. Well, they gonna hold their peace. So, think about that. Sit back and really think about that. How many people in the earth are really preaching the pure gospel of Yahuwah, which is the testimony of his son, that you might know him and dwell in him that is true, that you might receive eternal life. Let me drop down to verse 12 now. But as many as received him, to them gave he power to become the sons of Elohim, even to them that believe on his name, which were born not of blood, nor the will of the flesh, nor the will of man, but of Elohim. And the word was made flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his esteem. The esteem is of the only begotten of the Father, full of favor and truth. So this is what they run, because Revelation 19 say that this man was called the word Elohim. But let's look at 1 John chapter 5, because I told y'all about 1 John chapter 5, and what I told y'all I was going to go over with that, Yahuwah willing, that's what I'm going to hit on the Shabbat. With those 6 men. 1 John 5 and 5. 5 and 5 is cool. I'll let y'all think about how Ephraim and Manasseh would be the water and the blood. Who is he that overcome the world? But he that believed that Yahushua is the son of Elohim. This is he that came by water and blood, even Yahushua HaMashiach, not by water only, but by water and blood. And it is the Ruach that bear witness, because the Ruach is truth. There are 3 that bear record in Shamahim, the Abba, the Word, and the Ruach HaKodesh, and these 3 are one. And there are 3 that bear witness in the Arats, the Ruach, and the water, and the blood, and these 3 agree in one. And if we receive the witness of men, the witness of Elohim is greater, for this is the witness of Elohim, which he has testified of his son. So this is the word that people looking for. It's not hard to find the law. Even Christians know about the law, they reject it. So that can't be the word that people going to and fro to look for in the earth. That's not hard to find. Truth be told, in these days and times, it's not even hard to find out that you're a Hebrew. It's not even really that hard to find. That's not even really that hard to find. So what is it that's so hard and difficult for them to find that it'd be a famine? Because a famine is a dearth. There's a lack. I told y'all today, man, my brother in Detroit said, yeah, man, we hit them on in Genesis, man. And he said, man, them brothers at that gathering say, we've been to plenty of these gatherings, bro. Ain't never heard something like this. And that's what I told him. I say it needs to be preached because the testimony of Yahushua is in scarcity in the earth. And without it, a man cannot be saved. You cannot be saved if you do not believe on the name of the only begotten Son of the living Elohim who created Shamahim and the rest. Your soul will not be saved. You will be condemned and you will perish. Because of one key thing. He said he'll raise you pastors that'll feed you with knowledge and understanding. Yahushua rose from the dead. He said these are the things written in the Torah of Moses and in the Psalms and in the prophets concerning me. And he opened their understanding that they might understand the scriptures. And Shaul came right behind you and said, boy, if you lack understanding, you worthy of death. Because the book say a good understanding have all those that keep his commandments. And his commandment is to believe on his Son whom he hath sent. So if you do not understand the Son and the plan of salvation through him and how that relates to you, there's no way that you can be saved. You know what I'm saying? There's no way that you can be saved, period. You will not make it. You will not make it. You know what I'm saying? Period. You won't make it. Galatians chapter 2, probably about verse 17, before we swing back to Amos chapter 8. You won't make it. Because they say that word is in Shamahim, right up there bearing record to the Father. Job told you that in Job 16 and 19. My witness and my record is on high. That means you're believing on him who's son him. Because the Father is the one that bear witness of the Son. And therefore the Son came and confirmed the witness that the Father has stated from the beginning. So to believe on the Son is to believe on the Father, period. You sit there and you think about it. There are not many people in this earth speaking of this man in Ruach and in truth, as the scripture has said. How will you be saved? There is your famine. There is a dearth. There is a lack. But if we, 2 and 16. Galatians 2 and 16. My apologies. Knowing that a man is not justified by the works of the Torah, but by the faith of Yahushua HaMashiach, even we have believed in Yahushua HaMashiach, that we might be justified by the faith of Mashiach, not by the works of the Torah, for by the works of the Torah shall no flesh be justified. So we can see that the Torah or the teaching of the law is not what they were running to and fro in the earth for. Why would they need to do that when all they need to do was holler at a priest? You know how long it take to teach somebody the law? Not very long. That's not a difficult proposition. You don't even need any revelation. You don't even need a spiritual gift or nothing to teach anyone the law at all. At all. It's not hard to say, you see this Leviticus 11, don't eat no pork. Don't eat no shrimp. Don't eat no crab. Don't eat that. Don't eat no rabbit. Don't eat no duck. Oh, you see this right here? You can't be no homosexual. Can't lay with your daddy wife. Don't sleep with your uncle. Don't sleep with two sisters. Huh? Oh, this is how we determine if you got leprosy. This is what you do to cleanse yourself. These are when the feasts are. This is when you keep them. What's difficult about that? What's difficult with showing somebody? What level of skill or understanding do you need to show somebody that? Straight up. Don't mingle your vineyard with diverse seed. Don't wear no wool and linen. What type of skill? That's not hard to find. You think it's a famine on that? It's ignorant niggas all across America standing on corners every week talking about that. He said, but if while we seek to be justified by Mashiach, we ourselves are also found sinners, is therefore Mashiach the minister of sin? Elohim forbid. For if I build again the things which I destroyed, I make myself a transgressor. For I through the Torah am dead to the Torah, that I might live under Elohim. I am crucified with Mashiach. See, that's why he was already saying, not a famine for bread and water, but for the hearing of the word of Yahuwah. You looking for that bread and water to be crucified with it. He say, drink, this is my blood. Eat, this is my body. It's being broken for you, sacrificed for you. Be a partaker. Nevertheless, I live, yet not I, but Mashiach live in me. And the life which I now live in the flesh, I live by the faith of the Son of Elohim, who loved me and gave himself for me. So how can Mashiach live in you by the faith that you have in him if you ain't never heard of him? We always begin with search the scriptures, for in them you think you have eternal life, and they are they which testify of me. Lo, I come in the volume of the book. It's written of me. How are you going to be able to attain unto that if you don't hear him? That's where you can see it's a famine. All you got to sit back and look at is, look at all the Hebrews that you know. Those of you who know some. How many of them are giving that bread or that word that the book say you got to have to be saved, which is a testimony of his son, and you can see the famine live in effect right before your eyes. Amos 8:13. It's 7:47. Amos 8:13. I'll read verse 11 again. Behold, the days come, saith Yahuwah Elohim, that I will send a famine in the land. Not a famine of bread, nor a thirst for water, but for the hearing of the words of Yahuwah. And they shall wander from sea to sea, and from the north even to the east. And they shall run to and fro to seek the word of Yahuwah, and shall not find it. And that day shall the fair virgins and the young men faint for thirst. They that swear by the sin of Samaria, and say, Thy God, O Dan, live. The manner of Beersheba, live. Even they shall fall and never rise up again. That sound like the tribe of Dan will cut off to y'all. What that sound like to y'all? I want to hear y'all perspective. Huh?
It say they, because when it's saying they, it's not talking about Dan, it's saying they that shall say that. That's not even talking about Dan.
Absolutely.
And then Dan is a place as well. Dan is not just a tribe.
Absolutely.
When it says Samaria, when it says Dan, it's talking about the city of Dan, not the tribe of Dan.
Absolutely. Absolutely. See, they seen that and say that's Dan. So we need to look at the sin of Samaria and Adonai. Because you have to know that Dan is in the northern kingdom. So we need to look at, see what the sin of Samaria is. Let's look at Hosea chapter 8. And then after we look at Hosea chapter 8, we'll look at Hosea 8:1. And after we look at Hosea chapter 8, then once we see what the sin of Samaria is, then we need to sit back and go back and get some more understanding. See, this ain't necessarily about pulling the sun out. This is about getting an understanding of what's in the text so you can see why this man was saying what he was saying. Amos, hold on. Come on back to the book of Amos real fast. Hold on. Let me show y'all something. Amos chapter 7. Excuse me. And verse 9. Because I want y'all to know who Amos is, who he's talking to, and where he was prophesying at. I'll read verse 8. I'll read verse 7. Thus he showed me, and behold, the master stood upon a wall by a plumb line, and with a plumb line in his hand. Yahuwah said unto me, Amos, what see thou? And I said, a plumb line. Then said Yahuwah, behold, I will set a plumb line in the midst of my people Yasharal. I will not pass by them anymore. Do y'all know what a plumb line is? I'll take that silence as a no. Well, the Hebrew word for plumb line is a knock. And it is literally just a lead weight or a plummet. So this man sit back and tell you, I'm going to set a weight or some heaviness right in the middle. Right in the middle of these people I'm not going to pass by. So when we sit back and we look at, what would you look at this weight being? Say they'll set a plumb line right in the midst.
A plumb line is a device used to ensure the straightness of a wall.
Now what y'all think?
Is that what it is?
Yes, ma'am. Now what y'all think about that? Well, let's keep. Huh? I hear you. Say that again. Your phone breaking up. I know you at the house. Your
If the
phone.
wall not straightened, eventually it'll collapse.
It's that's a state.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's look at Amos 9:27 Daniel 9:27 real fast. Because remember, as you said, now this is the thing to keep a wall straight, to keep it from falling. This man just sat back and told you in Galatians chapter 2 how he redeemed you by his death. You know what I'm saying? He said, I'm going to set it right in the midst. So when you heard him setting right in the midst, where was Mashiach when he was being killed? Right in the middle of the people. Daniel 9:27, just for the wall part. Well, 9 and 25 actually. I'll read 24 though. I gotta crank it up a notch. 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon the Kadesh city to finish the transgression, and to make an end of sins, and to make reconciliation for iniquity, and to bring in everlasting righteousness, to seal up the vision and prophecy, to anoint the Mokadesh. We got to seal it up. Remember he told Daniel, seal the book. It's for the time of the end. And then Revelation talking about you. There's nobody who can unseal it. And they were weeping because of it in the 5th chapter. And he told them, don't weep. For the Lion of the tribe of Yehudah have prevailed to unseal the book. He said, I got to set a plumb line. I'm not going to pass by my people anymore. We'll look at what he means when he said, I'm not going to pass by them anymore. You could get Luke chapter 1 behind this Daniel when we finish this right here. Luke 1 about 68. Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and build, to restore and build Jerusalem unto Mashiach the prince shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. The street shall be built again, and the wall, even in troublous times. So even in troublous times, he's going to rebuild the wall, but he got to set a plumb line to make that wall straight. Remember, he told you about how he would make the crooked places straight. So this is talking about your reconciliation of what this man came to work. I got to set you right in the midst. Let's look at Luke 24 first. Luke 23, I should say. Probably about 36. Dang, my toe just went to hurting out of nowhere. 23 and 35. Well, 23 and 34. Luke 23 and 34. Then said Yahushua, Abba, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And they parted his raiments and cast lots. And the people stood beholding, and the rulers also with them derided him, saying, he saved others, let him save himself, if he be Mashiach, the chosen of Elohim. And the soldiers also mocked him, coming to him, offering him vinegar. Hello?
It's me, you got disconnected again.
Yes, sir. And saying, if thou be the Malach of the Yahudim, save thyself. And a superscription also was written over him in the letters of Greek, Latin, and Hebrew. This is the king of the Yahudim. And one of the malefactors which were hanged railed on him, saying, if thou be Mashiach, save thyself and us. But the other answering rebuked him. We can go no further. They didn't have the word in what I'm looking for. We'll just step back and say he in the middle. I know y'all know he in the middle, but for the sake of what we looking at, we got to read it out of the book. Let me see if Matthew got what we want. You know, we a little thorough. We got to read it out of the book just in case somebody want to be smart. You know, everybody like to think they smart and try to buck some stuff. Matthew 27 and 38. That's what we want. Matthew 27, 38. Then were the two thieves crucified with him, one on the right hand and another on the left. So wouldn't that be a plumb line right in the midst of his people, Yasharal? He's right there. Remember what Zephaniah 3 and 5 says, if I'm not mistaken, 3 and 4, the just Yahuwah in the midst. Peter told you that Mashiach was the just one. You see a plumb line set in the midst of the people because he won't pass by them anymore. Well, let's look at Luke 1:68 and see what he means when he says he won't pass by them anymore. See, he had been passing by our transgression and our iniquity. Now he will no longer pass by it. He has to visit. Well, when he visits, when it comes to sin, that means he's coming to work his wrath. So instead of visiting that wrath upon us as a whole, he visited that wrath upon his son. Let's see what the book say in Luke 1:68. Baruch be Yahuwah Elohim of Yasharal, for he has visited and redeemed his people. That means he didn't pass by them anymore. And he have raised up a horn of salvation for us in the house of his servant Daud, as he spake by the mouth of his Kadesh prophets, which have been since the world began, that we should be saved from our enemies from the hand of all that hate us, to perform the mercy promised to our fathers, and to remember his Kadesh covenant, the oath which he swore to our father Abraham, that he would grant unto us that we, being delivered out of the hand of our enemies, might serve him without fear, and Kadesh and righteousness before him all the days of our life. And understand, when he told you to say you would serve him in Kadesh and righteousness, you got to sit back and realize that's Ruach and truth now. That righteousness is the faith. The Ruach is received by faith in the Son of Elohim, as the scripture have said. This is why he said, I'm going to set a plumb line in the midst. I'm not going to pass by them anymore. You ought to praise you who he didn't pass by no more. Let's come back to Amos chapter 7 to finish this up. Let me know if you don't understand something, if I'm going too fast. Y'all know I don't try to keep you too long on Wednesday no more. There's been times we have been in here a little later than we needed to be. So we're in Amos 7 and 9, right? And the high places of Isaac shall be desolate, and the sanctuaries of Yasharal shall be laid waste. And I will rise against the house of Jeroboam with the sword. Well, the high places of Isaac is Mashiach. We already know. Y'all already know that Yahushua is the sanctuary. We just talked about that the other couple weeks ago. He said he laid it waste. The man sat back and told you, and John destroyed this temple, and I'll build it back in 3 days. Now, sit back as you realize that a plumb line is what makes a wall straight, right? Hello? Shalom, bro. So, knowing that, right? Knowing that Yahusha is the way, and that Darak is the Hebrew word for way, which is the pathway to the highest, which cover sins. In order for us to get in, because 1 John 3 and 6 says what? Let's look at 1 John 3 and 6, just to sit back and look at it. Let's just look at 1 John 3 and 6. We'll read 1 John 3 and 4. First John 3 and 4. Whosoever commits sin transgress also the law. For sin is transgression of the law. And ye know that he was manifested to take away our sins, and in him is no sin. Whosoever abide in him, sin not. Whosoever sin have not seen him, neither known him. So when we turn around and we look at this, knowing that if we abide by that plumb line is to set you and make you straight. See, the Father already set the Son straight by chastising him with the rod. By chastising him with the rod. That made him straight and upright. Now this man turned around and tell you to not despise the chastening of Yahuwah, for who Yahuwah love he chastened, in order for you to be a partaker of his kadeshness and to bear forth the fruits of eternal life. He got to lay that plumb line on you to set you straight, to set that crooked place straight. We can't forsake that or try to get around that. See, what we looking at what we're going on in Samaria, he say the sin of Samaria. Come back to Amos chapter 7, because I'm just showing you who he's preaching to. Because he's preaching to the northern kingdom. And he's dealing with Jeroboam. So we have to see this to look back and look at what the sin of Samaria is and who brought the sin of Samaria, which was Jeroboam. He the one brought it. Then we'll look at what was that sin that he brought. And you'll see that's that same sin in the wilderness. That's why they say, thy God live. And you're going to see and turn around and see your ancestors did this in the wilderness. Amos chapter 7. Verse 10. Shalom. Then Amaziah the priest of... No, my phone on. I hear y'all. Y'all hear me? Y'all hear me? Dang.
Welcome. There are 6 participants in the conference. Please announce yourself.
Y'all hear me now?
Yeah, y'all can hear you now.
No, my phone ain't never dropped. It ain't never dropped. I heard you the whole time.
Okay.
Yeah, hold on. All right. Yeah, the phone just was tripping, man. It just might have just went out. I heard it ain't a fall though. Amos 7 and 10, because we got the roll. Then Amaziah the priest of Bethel sent to Jeroboam of king of Yasharal, saying, Amos have conspired against thee in the midst of the house of Yasharal. The land is not able to bear all his word. Same thing the scribe said. If we let him keep going, we're going to lose our place of nation. We can't bear this man. For thus Amos saith, Jeroboam shall die by the sword, and Yasharal shall surely be led away captive out of their own land. And Hamashiach surely died by the sword, and he surely was led captive out of his own land, because they took him outside of Jerusalem to kill him. Also Amaziah said unto Amos, O thou seer, go thee away into the land of Yehudah, and there eat bread and prophecy there. That man's so serious, he told Amos, man, go on down south and preach, man. Don't preach around here, man. Just go down south with it. But prophecy not again anymore at Bethel, for it is the king's chapel and it is the king's court. Well, Bethel was the place of worship before Jerusalem was the place of worship in the northern kingdom. That's where they went at instead of going to Jerusalem. And you're going to see the same thing with that other city that was mentioned in Beersheba, because they did that there as well. Then answered Amos and said to Amaziah, I was no prophet, neither was I a prophet's son, but I was a herdman and a gatherer of sycamore fruit. That's another reason when you hear John, they ask you, John, is you the prophet? John said, I ain't no prophet. And Yahuwah took me as I followed the flock, and Yahuwah said unto me, go and prophesy unto my people Yasharal. So he's preaching in the northern kingdom. That's where he at. So now when we go look at Amos 8 and 1, that's why we had to do that. You need to see where he was preaching at. Because Hosea prophesied to the northern kingdom. He wasn't in Yahuwah. Amos 8 and 1. Let's see what the sin of Samaria is. Let's see what the sin of Samaria is. They say that God, O Dan, live. Say the man of Beersheba live. Say even they shall fall and never rise up again. Set the trumpet to thy mouth. He shall come as an eagle against the house of Yahuwah, because they have transgressed my covenant and trespassed against my Torah. Yasharal shall cry unto me, my Elohim, we know thee. And that's just what the master did. My Elohim, why have you forsaken me? What you crying to me, talking about you know me for? Yasharal have cast off the thing that is good, the enemy shall pursue him. That's one of the biggest problems with our people. Death is pursuing you because you cast off the thing that is true, that is good. The word of Yahuwah is good. You done cast it off. They have set up kings, but not by me. They say, we have no king but Caesar. They have made princes, I knew it not. Of their silver and of their gold have they made them idols, that they may be cut off. Thy calf, O Samaria, have cast thee off. My anger is kindled against them. How long will it be ere they attain to innocency? For from Yasharal was it also. The workman made it. Therefore it is not Elohim. But the calf of Samaria shall be broken in pieces. So we see the sin of Samaria as they were worshiping a calf. Well, let's look at Deuteronomy 32. So the sin of Samaria, so he can't throw this on Dan and say this is what got Dan cut off. This man talking about these people worshiping idols. As Corey already mentioned, Dan is a city in Yasharal. This man is not, common sense would tell you that he's mentioning a city because he said, oh, Dan and Samaria and Beersheba. He mentioned 3 cities. The man mentioned 3 cities. He didn't mention 3 tribes, he mentioned 3 cities. That's why all you got to do is just examine the word. Let's search the scriptures to see if that's so. So obviously we've canceled out he's talking about a tribe. Wouldn't you agree? Just dealing with what the book say. Let's look at Exodus 32 and 1. We see what the sin of Samaria is. They say they God live. So remember, Dan means judge. So the people in that city have judged that that calf lives. Let's see if these people had judged if this calf had lived. And when the people saw that Moses delayed to come down out of the mount, the people gathered themselves together unto Aaron and said unto him, make us gods which shall go before us. For as this Moses, the man that brought us up out of the land of Mizraim, we walk not what is become of him. Let's look at 2 Peter chapter 3. Probably about verse 5. And then Luke chapter 12. See, that's what these people done sat up and did. Because the master has departed, they say, we don't know what's become of him. I guess we'll sit around and play and worship idols till he get back here. Because I don't know if he coming back or not. He taking too long. I don't want to wait no more. So I'm going to go do something else. Make me a new God. That's what I'm going to do. 2 Peter chapter 3 by verse 5. For this they are willingly ignorant of, that by the word of Elohim the Shamahims were old and their rats standing under the water and in the water. Whereby the world that then was being overflowed with water perished. But the Shamahim and the Arats, which are now by the same word, are kept in store, reserved under fire against the day of judgment and perdition of ungodly men. But beloved, be not ignorant of this one thing, that one day is with Yahuwah as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is one day. Yahuwah is not slack concerning his promise, as some men count slackness, but is long-suffering to us ward, not willing that any should perish, but that all should come to repentance. See, those in Exodus 32, they say, man, he's taking too long, he's slack. Even with Moses being up there with Elohim, that's a similitude of showing you the patience that Yahuwah have for you to get it right. Do I have to literally be down there with you for you to get it right? You can't keep my instructions and abide till I come? That's the mind we got, right? He taking too long. I'm finna go play. I'm finna go do this. Because he taking too long. So we count that as slackness because he's not coming back on our time. He ain't moving when we want him to move. So now we commit the sin of Samaria. Come on, look at this Luke chapter 12. Luke chapter 12. What is it, about verse 43? I think about verse 43. Verse 43. We'll start at 41 though. Then Kepha said unto him, Master, speak thou this parable unto us or even to all? And the master said, Who then is that faithful and wise steward, whom his master shall make ruler over his household, to give him their portion of meat in due season? Baruch is that servant whom his master, when he comes, shall find so doing. Of a truth I say unto you that he will make him ruler over all that he hath. But if that servant say in his heart, My master delay is coming, and shall begin to beat the men servants and maidens, and to eat and drink, and to be drunken, the master of that servant will come in a day when he look not for him, and at an hour when he is not aware, and cut him asunder, and will appoint him his portion with the unbelievers. Well, y'all already know, but most of y'all already know from that story, that when Moses came back and they caught them people unaware worshiping that golden calf, that them Levites got them swords and cut them hypocrites and unbelievers into pieces. But let's go back and look at Exodus 32 with the actual worshiping of it. Because what did they do? They ate and drank and got drunk. They were playing. This is the sin of Samaria. You don't think that's what they were doing with that calf? They were doing the same thing. And when we see that they say, this is the Elohim or Yasharah what brought us out, they had done judged that they God lived. But we know that our Redeemer lived. That calf can't live. We'll look at that too. Praise Yahuwah for the word. Verse 2. Exodus 32 and 2. And Aaron said unto them, Break off the gold earrings which are in the ears of your wives, of your sons, and of your daughters, and bring them unto me. And the people brake off the gold earrings, and which were in their ears, and brought them unto Aaron. And he received them at their hand, and fashioned it with the graving tool. And after he made it a molten calf, and they said, These be thy gods, O Yasharah, which brought thee up out of the land of Mizraim. And when Aaron saw it, he built an altar before it. And Aaron made a proclamation and said, Tomorrow is a feast to Yahuwah. And they rose up early on the morrow and offered burnt offerings and brought shalom offerings. And the people sat down to eat and to drink and rose up to play. These people literally just said, Yah live. Because he said, surely it says Yah liveth what brought you up out of Mizraim. So you would not say, hold on, look at it. What is it? Jeremiah 16. Let's just sit back and look at that. They hadn't said this is the manner. They said this man lives. They just said this calf lives. So these people just said our God lives. That's who brought us up out of here. This is the sin of Samaria. This is what Dan is judged. So what this is telling you is that all idolaters will not rise again. This is not talking about Dan is cut off. And we will look and see that Dan is cut off, just on general principle. So you know what they saying that Dan cut off? That means Samson going to hell, y'all. Because Samson was from the tribe of Dan. We'll read that in Judges 13 too. Because Samson was from the tribe of Dan. Did y'all know that?
Yeah.
What that was I just said? I'm trying to remember where I was finna go at. Well, I just said we were finna go. I hate when that happens. I'm getting too old, man. I don't even smoke weed no more. This is ridiculous. I ain't forget stuff like this when I did smoke marijuana. Oh yeah, Jeremiah 16. Praise you. Jeremiah 16 and 15, I want to say. 16 and 14. Matter of fact, just look at 11. Let's look at 11. Listen what the man tell you. Thou shalt say unto them, because your fathers have forsaken me, saith Yahuwah, and walked after other gods and served them, and have worshipped them, and have forsaken me, and have not kept my Torah, and you have done worse than your fathers, behold, you walk every one after the imagination of his evil heart, that they may not hearken unto me. See, and that goes back to Ezekiel 14. And that goes back to Ephesians 5. You done set up an idol in your heart. That's why he say, I am Yahuwah thy Elohim, which brought thee out of the land of Mizraim. Thou shalt have no other power, no other God, no other El before, but all before me. That's why the master come in. That's why them Hebrew dudes that don't believe in Mashiach really be grinding my gear. When that Luke 14 to 26, he say, if any man hate not his father or his mother, he not worthy of me. That means no one can come before Yahuwah. No one. The minute someone is elevated in the position above Yahuwah, they have become your God. Because that's whom you serve. To whom you yield your member service to is to whom you obey. Whether sin unto death or obedience unto life. Whatever you set before Yahuwah, whatever you invest your time in, would cause it to intercede to where that is taking precedence over Yahuwah, your Elohim, you have now committed idolatry. You have now committed the sin of Samaria. You have now said, my God lives. That is dangerous. Therefore I will cast you out of this land into a land that ye know not, neither ye nor your fathers, and there you shall serve other gods day and night, where I will not show you favor. And you already know we ain't got no favor over here, and our people definitely serving other gods day and night. Pick you one. You can serve sweet booty Osiris, sweet booty Horus. What about pedophile Muhammad and his moon god? What about an elephant? Some of these niggas worship penis, literally. Some people worship celebrities. Some people worship their children. Some people worship their wife. Some people worship their husband. Some people worship at the altar of their own self. Therefore, behold, the days come, saith Yahuwah, that it shall no more be said, Yahuwah lived and brought up the children of Yasharal out of the land of Mizraim. But Yahuwah lived that brought up the children of Yasharal from the land of the north and from the lands whither he had driven them. And I will bring them again into their land that I gave unto their fathers. So they had done stood up when they stared back and said, this is thy gods that brought thee out of the land of Mizraim. They just said, our God lives. They had done judged this to be so. But this God doesn't have ears to hear, nor a mouth to speak, nor breath in his lungs. Let's look at Psalms 118 before we look at Job 19:25. I thank y'all for the word. See if Psalm 118 the one I want. I need to go swing around here and read about Jeroboam just a little bit more about what he did, but I'll try to work it in. It's Sunday, but I want to hit with Beersheba, but I'm getting short on time. I ain't going to be able to work that in. I have to save it for Shabbat. Most High spell our life. Psalms 115, my apologies. Psalms 115 and 3. After that, Job 19 and 25. But our Elohim is in Shamahim. He have done whatsoever he pleased. Their idols are silver and gold, the works of men's hands. They have mouths, but they speak not. Eyes have they, but they see not. They have ears, but they hear not. Noses have they, but they smell not. They have hands, but they handle not. Feet have they, but they walk not. Neither speak they through their throat. They that make them are like unto them, so is everyone that trusts in them. Basically, these idols don't have life. They're a dead work. They're dead. They said, thy God live. Let's see what Job said about your God, though. Job 19:25. And after that, John chapter 5, verse 23. Job 19:25. Make it 23. He said, oh, that my words were now written. Oh, that they were printed in a book. That they were graven with an iron pen and lead in the rock forever. Why you think he sit back and look at it? He done put them iron nails through this man's hands and feet to engrave that word on this man's body. That ain't written in the book. Cause he the book. Hello? Hello? Shalom. He the book. This man is the book. That's why it's written on. That's why he said there'll be a famine for the hearing of the words of Yahuwah. for the hearing of the testimony of Mashiach. It's going to be a famine for it. He said, I know that my Redeemer live, and he that stands, he shall stand at the latter day upon their rest. And though after my skin worms destroy this body, yet in my flesh shall I see Elohim, whom I shall see for myself, and my eyes shall behold, and not another, though my reins be consumed within me. This man say, even after my death, I'm going to see my Elohim. He say, my Redeemer lives, and I see him with my own eyes. John 5:22. See, that's the difference with the sin of Samaria. See, the sin of Samaria was them worshiping this golden calf. They say, Dan said, oh, our God live. He said, whoever said that going to die, and they ain't going to raise up again, right? So ain't no idolater getting up. I don't know how they get the tribe of Dan cut off. I don't know what they smoking. They need to get their money back, though. John 5:22. Make it 21. For as the Father raised up the dead and quickened them, even so the Son quickened whom he will. For the Father judged no man, but have committed all judgment unto the Son, that all men should honor the Son, even as they honor the Father. He that honor not the Son, honor not the Father, which hath sent him. Truly, truly, I say unto you, he that hear my word and believe on him that sent me, have everlasting life, and shall not come into condemnation, but is passed from death unto life. Truly, truly, I say unto you, the hour is coming, and now is, when the dead shall hear the voice of the Son of Elohim, and they that hear shall live. For as Abba have life in himself, so have he given unto the Son to have life in himself. He said, I know my Redeemer lives. We just read that if you abide in the Son abide in you, you would not commit sin. Therefore you would live. That's why he say he's given us an understanding that we may know and be in him that is true, even his Son Yahushua HaMashiach. This is the true Elohim in eternal life. This is why he say there's a famine in the land for the words Elohim. It's a lot of people that ain't got no life in them. That's why he say it is no longer I that live in me, but the Son of Elohim that in me. That means the word is in me, but that word cannot resonate and be alive in you unless you know the Son. It's going to be impossible. So when they turn around and said, our God lives, talking about the sin of Samaria, this calf, that's going to be impossible. That's going to be impossible. Impossible. Ephesians chapter 5 real fast. I'll say the second half of this Amos 8:14, Yahuwah willing, on the Shabbat. Because if I try to pick it up right now, that's about another 40 to 45 minutes. And I'm not finna do that. Ephesians chapter 5. This book wouldn't have Ephesians chapter 5 in it. Ephesians 5, right? About verse 3. But fornication and all uncleanness of covetousness, let it not be once named among you as become Kadeshim. Neither filthiness, nor foolish talking, nor jesting, which are not convenient, but rather giving of thanks. For this ye know that no whoremonger, no unclean person, no covetous man who was an idolater hath any inheritance in the kingdom of Mashiach and of Elohim. So now the reason we just came there just for that page, say no idolater. Because he said that you will not rise up again because of this idolatry now. See, we didn't touch the manner of Beersheba, and we're going to touch on that there most high will on Shabbat. Because Beersheba has a particular meaning. And that manner of Beersheba is a little different than that sin of Samaria. But before I touch this one more thing about this idolatry, let me look at 1 Kings 12 and 26 real fast. Let me look at it real fast. 1 Kings 12 and 26. Just look at Jeroboam one good time before we slide on up out of here. 1 Kings 12 and 26. Just so we can see this here with Dan. Just so we can see this here, right? Let's sit back and just look at this here, right? Because I'm not sure. Make it 25. And Jeroboam built Shechem and Mount Ephraim and dwelt therein, and went out from thence and built Penuel. Jeroboam said in his heart, now shall the kingdom return to the house of Daud. If this people go up to sacrifice in the house of Yahuwah at Jerusalem, then shall the heart of this people turn against their master, even unto Rehoboam king of Yehuda, and they shall kill me, and go again to Rehoboam king of Yehuda. Whereupon the king took counsel and made 2 calves of gold, and said unto them, Is it too much for you to go up to Jerusalem? Behold thy gods, O Yasharal, which brought thee up out of the land of Mizraim. And he set one in Bethel, and the other put he in Dan. So now you see what they say is thy God, O Dan, lives. Because this stupid individual, that's Jeroboam. This ain't got nothing to do with the tribe of Dan being cut off. This is about these people have set up a calf and worshiped it there. They're idolaters. And if we also look on the natural aspect, the kings of Yasharal were stopped and ceased. And there shall only be one king from the tribe of Yehuda, whose name is Yahushua HaMashiach, the Baruch the Abba, who sits in Shamahim, who sits at this man's right hand. This man here can't rise up again. I can't allow this to continue. Let's see what more go on here. And this thing became a sin, for the people went to worship before the one, even unto Dan. So that means they went to the city of Dan to do this. They didn't go to the tribe of Dan. That's just idiotic on this man's part. And he made a house of high places and made priests of the lowest of the people, which were not the sons of Levi. Let's see how far this man even went with it. And Jeroboam ordained a feast in the 8th month on the 15th day of the month, like unto the feast that is in Yehuda. Damn. What that sound like to y'all when he come to make a feast in the 8th month on the 15th day, like the feast in Yehuda? What that sound like to y'all? Hold on, this is like I said, right? And he offered up upon the altar, so did he in Bethel, sacrificing unto the calves that he had made, and placed in Bethel the priests of the high places which he had made. So he offered upon the altar which he made in Bethel the 15th day of the 8th month, even in the month which he had devised of his own heart, and ordained a feast unto the children of Yasharal, and he offered upon the altar and burnt incense. You know, that sounds like the beast, don't it? Trying to copy Yahuwah and be like Yahuwah, huh? Yes, ma'am. That's what he was trying to copy. Did it a month later, because we all know Tabernacle's coming up real soon. He tried to copy it. And see, and I'm not going to go into that in greater detail, but that's the same way that the beast is going to try to copy to bring you in, and it's like he's gathering everybody up in and coming with the guise of peace, yet bringing war. See, we know the master coming in doing different. He coming to bring war and then peace. Because he came to bring peace the first time. He ain't bring no war. He coming to bring war and then peace. This man gonna come with peace but then bring war, trying to mimic or copy. But this is what he's saying, thy God live, O Dan. They were worshiping idols there. This is not about the tribe of Dan being cut off. How can a man be so unlearned and have the gall, the audacity, to dare open his mouth and ridicule another when you dumb as a box of rocks? Look at Amos 5:1 real fast. Before we look at Revelation 20. Now see, I had told Buddy call my phone out to crash him just like that. But he chose not to do so. Good for him. Good for him. Matter of fact, now we leave Amos 5. That's on the second part of what I got to deal with. Go to Revelation chapter 20. Because he says, those that say the idolatry God live will not rise. They will not rise. They will not rise. Revelation 20:11. And I saw a great white throne, and him that sat on it, from whose face the rats and Shamahim fled away, and there was found no place for them. And I saw the dead, small and great, stand before Elohim, and the books were opened, and another book was opened, which is the book of life, and the dead were judged out of those things which were written in the books according to their works. And the sea gave up the dead which were in it, and death and hell delivered up the dead which were in them, and they were judged every man according to their works, and death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death. And whosoever was not found written in the book of life was cast into the lake of fire. Well, you know that same chapter of Exodus 32. He states that whosoever sins against him shall be blotted out of his book. All those people who he slew for worshiping that calf, names were blotted out. Because if you say that God lives, you will not rise. See, he said, I know my Redeemer lives. The reason why I state this, and we're going to read this in Revelation, I needed to go back some, about 20 and 5. We'll read 20 and 4. It's because of this. When we read in that Psalms 115 how he said that that idol that was made of silver and gold didn't have any life in it. He said, he that commits sin is the servant of sin, and the servant abides not in the house forever. That which is flesh, and that which is ruach is ruach. Without this man's ruach in you, or without this man's debar in you, or word in you, without Yahushua in you, you are dead. You have no life in you. Therefore, when you worship an idol god which is dead and has no life, then you are dead also. Therefore, you will not rise again, or you will not be a partaker of the first resurrection. Therefore, you will perish and you will burn forever. This is why all Yahudim abhor idols. Matter of fact, look at Deuteronomy, I think, 17. All Yahudim abhor idols. Deuteronomy 16, my apologies. Deuteronomy 16 and 21. See, people playing game, I don't even see how they could love an idolater. Like, how could you genuinely from the heart love an idolater? How that work? After that, 2 Corinthians 6 and 16. How could you genuinely from the heart love an idolater? How is that possible? And ain't no way in the world you say they got life in them and they worship an idol god. That's impossible. Now you're saying Yahuwah lying. He said, our Redeemer lived. This man say all idols have no life in them. Thou shalt not plant thee a grove of any trees near unto the altar of Yahuwah thy Elohim, which thou shalt make thee. Neither shalt thou set thee up an image which Yahuwah thy Elohim hate. So all idols are an abomination to this man. An abomination. He hate them. Say don't make none. And what did we turn around and do? Made some. 2 Corinthians 6 and 16. Better leave them idols alone. Better leave them idolaters alone. 2 Corinthians 6 and 16. And what agreement had the temple of Elohim with idols? For ye are the temple of the living Elohim. And Elohim has said, I will dwell in them, and I will walk in them, and I will be their Elohim, and they shall be my people. How can we have an agreement with an idolatrous God? How can life have an agreement with death? When Isaiah 28 say he has disannulled your covenant with death. So how can life have agreement with death? Well, that's what we turn around and do if you sit back and say an idolatrous image lives. This is why in Malachi he said, and those who Yahuwah indignate, you say he pleased with them. We weary this man with that by saying this man is pleased with idolaters and transgressors. How can he be pleased with death? When he say, I have no pleasure in the death of him that died, but turn yourselves and live. Light and darkness don't have an agreement with one another. He said the darkness couldn't comprehend the light. So an idolater can't comprehend the server of the true and living Elohim. And those who serve the true and living Elohim could not comprehend an idolater. If you can, that means you don't serve the true and living Elohim. If you can comprehend and understand and relate with an idolater, how is that possible? How can you relate with an infidel? I don't see how that's possible. Revelation 20 and 4. And after that, Revelation 22 and 14. And we'll stop right there. Matter of fact, hold on. Revelation 8 and about 18. Let's just see what this man gonna do to these idolaters when he just. I would think about it earlier as I was flipping. It's right here in my face. Let's just look at it. By these three was a third part of men killed by the fire and by the smoke and by the brimstone which issued out of their mouths. For their power is in their mouth and in their tails. For the tails were like unto serpents and had heads, and with them they do hurt. And the rest of the men which were not killed by these plagues, yet repented not of the works of their hands, that they should not worship devils, and idols of gold and silver and brass and stone and of wood, which neither can see nor hear nor walk. Your Elohim actually walked the earth. Your Elohim actually heard your cries and hearkened unto it and visited you by setting a plumb line in the midst of his people, that you perish not. Your Elohim say the eyes of Yahuwah run to and fro throughout the earth, that he might show himself strong towards those whose heart is perfect towards him. How many of y'all can sit here and say right now that Yahuwah's eyes that's running to and fro to this earth could be able to show himself strong because your heart is complete and mature towards him? Your mind. Like Paul said, I exercise myself to have a conscience void of offense towards Elohim and man. We need to make sure that our heart is perfect toward this man, so he can show himself strong on your behalf. This man can't show himself strong on your behalf and you set up idols in your heart. You worshiping idols. You got other gods you serve. Say that God is their belly. That's what the book say. You know what I'm saying? That's what a lot of people problem is. I'm going to read that verse 20 again. And the rest of the men which were not killed by these plagues, yet repented not of the work of their hands, that they should not worship devils and idols of gold and silver and brass and stone and of wood, which neither can see nor hear nor walk. Neither repented they of their murders, nor of their sorceries, nor of their fornication, nor of their thefts. And remember, them sorceries is rebellion. Remember, we dealt with that. The rebellion. The witchcraft. The worshiping of idols. Don't forget, stubbornness is as idolatry. That's what we read in Jeremiah 16. They said they wouldn't hearken unto my words. Which goes back to the Ephesians 3 that I mentioned. That God is their belly. They mind earthly things. So guess what? Satan is your God. Because he go upon his belly. He mind carnal things. Things of this life. Say, if you're not willing to forsake all that you have, you are not worthy of me. Did you sit down and count the cost that you had sufficient to pay? Can't be around here messing with no idols. Oh man, we got to forget that to show Dan ain't cut off. Praise Yahuwah. Let me finish this last point where idolaters ain't getting in. Revelation 22 and 14. Then we'll just sit back, because that's real quick that Dan getting in. I don't know what these people talking about. They better stop smoking rocks. Better start reading the book. Ain't nowhere that book saying tribe of Yasharal was ever discarded. I wanted to try to use Genesis 49 and say Dan shall judge himself as one of the tribes of Yasharal. He shall be a serpent, by the way. We talked about that a few weeks ago on the back post, man. That's Judas. He ain't talking about no doggone Dan being cut off. Baruch are they that do his commandments, that they may have right to the tree of life. I praise y'all he did it this way. You who know what he be doing. Baruch are they that do his commandments, that they may have right to the tree of life, and may enter in through the gates into the city. I know I mentioned that Samson was from the tribe of Dan. I'm going to just tell you what the verse is, because I ain't get back to it for y'all to read that for yourself. But all you need to do is pull, what it is, Judges chapter 13. In verse 2, and you see there was a certain man of Zorah in the family of the Danites, whose name was Manoah, and his wife was barren and bare not. And that's where Samson's story started at. Just for you to know that Samson was from the tribe of Dan. Remember, Dan means judge. So if he cut off Dan, that means Yahushua can't judge then. That's how dumb they are. Because this man got to fulfill every name of every tribe. This man's name means judge. Dan means judge. You cut off Dan, Yahuwah can't judge then. Since we already read that all judgment been committed in the hand of the Son, and you read in Revelation 20, he had the throne judging. Baruch are they that do his commandments, that they may have right to the tree of life, and they may enter in through the gates into the city. For without are dogs, and sorcerers, and whoremongers, and murderers, and idolaters, and whosoever love and make a lie. I mean, ain't no idolaters getting in here. But he said to enter in through the gates of the city. Revelation 21 and 12. You do his commandments, you'll enter in through the gates of the city. So that means if there's a tribe for every gate, that means they can enter in through the gates of the city. Revelation 21 and 12. And had a wall great and high, and had 12 gates. And at the gates 12 Malachim, and the names written thereon, which are the names of the 12 tribes of the children of Yasharal. On the east 3 gates, on the north 3 gates, on the south 3 gates, on the west 3 gates. So the name, well, let's look at something in Genesis 29 or Genesis 30. He said, let's look at Genesis 29. He said, these are the names of the sons of the tribes of Yasharal. So we just need to, for the law's sake, we need to see who his sons is. Then we'll look at Ezekiel 48 and 31 and kill it right there. Because if Revelation 21 and 12 say, because Ephraim and Manasseh are not the sons of Yasharal, those are Joseph's sons. They were brought into the covenant under Joseph, but they're not Yasharal's sons. It said that these gates would have the names of the children of Yasharal. Not the children of Yosef, not Joseph's sons, Jacob's sons, Yasharal's sons. Let's look at Genesis 29, and we're just going to skip down and read the name of each son. Genesis 29 and 32. And Leah conceived and bare a son. She called his name Reuben. Verse 33. And she conceived again and bare a son. And because you have heard, I was hated, he hath therefore given me a son also. She called his name Simeon. Verse 34. And she conceived again and bare a son and said, now this time will my husband be joined unto me, because I born him 3 sons. Therefore his name was called Levi. And she conceived again and bare a son, and she said, now I will praise Yahuwah. Therefore she called his name Yehudah, and left barren. So we see some more of his sons. Let's look, keep on going to Genesis chapter 30. And Rachel saw that Jacob offered children, so she gave Bilhah her handmaid. Let's look at verse 5. And Bilhah conceived and bare Jacob a son. And Rachel said, Elohim have judged me, and also heard my voice and given me a son. Therefore she called his name Dan. Verse 7. And Rachel's maid conceived again and bare Jacob a second son. And with great wrestlings you see Naphtali. Then look at verse 11. You see Gad. Then you look in verse 13 and you see Asher. And then we know Rachel had Benjamin and Joseph. Hold on, we like to say, my apologies, y'all. Drop down about verse 6, said 18. And now we see that Leah gave birth to Issachar. And then we look in verse 20 and we see that she gave birth to Zebulun. So we look at this here and have determined according to the Torah that Dan is the son of Yasharal. Revelation 21 say the names of the gates of the city will be the sons of Yasharal. Well, let's look at Ezekiel 48 and 31 and see if that backed that up. And if that backed that up, them boys done told a lie. Let's see if we hear the names of the same people that we read in Revelation. And the gates of the city shall be after the names of the tribes of Yasharal. 3 gates northward. 1 gate Reuben, 1 gate Yehudah, 1 gate Levi. We heard them 3. 48 and 31. So we heard Reuben, Judah, and Levi in Genesis 29 and 30. Let's look at verse 32. And on the east side, 4,503 gates, 1 gate Joseph, 1 gate Benjamin, 1 gate Dan. We just didn't read the spots where Joseph and Benjamin were born, but that's later on down the line at the bottom of chapter 30. But let me call them verses out for a smarty art nigga though. Let me just cover myself like that there, man. Let me just do that right there. We look at verse 24 in Genesis chapter 30, and you will see where Rachel gave birth to Joseph. And I think, where is Benjamin at? Benjamin in another chapter. She died. Rachel died giving birth to Benjamin. Now let's look at verse 33. And at the south side, 4,500 measures, 3 gates, 1 gate of Simeon, 1 gate of Issachar, 1 gate of Zebulun. You heard them 3 names too. And at the west side, 4,500 with their 3 gates, 1 gate of Gad, 1 gate of Asher, 1 gate of Naphtali. And you heard those 3 names too. And it was round about 18,000 measures, and the name of the city from that day shall be Yahuwah is there. Which means this is the kingdom of Elohim, which means Dan is not cut off, which means the word is true. And this doctrine that Dan been cut off, according to Amos 8 and 14, is pure and utter folly. Hallelujah for Yahusha and the word. We'll stop it right there. Stop it right there.